Hey guys, PrinceofMacedon here. Gonna do a commentary video for Total War Rome 2, using my old cinematic style of editing, which I've been doing for years. Anyways, Macedon versus Egypt battle. I command the Macedonians. My opponent's name is TroyJosh0225, in command of the Egyptians, fighting on the Charax map. And in my army, I have 1 Royal Peltas for my general, 3 Aspis Companion Cav, 3 Mercenary Cretan Archers, 1 regular Slinger, 5 Pikemen, 2 Thorax Swords. My opponent has 4 Royal Peltas, 1 being his general, 2 Citizen Cav, 1 Side Chariot, 2 Mercenary Cretan Archers, 3 Egyptian Infantry, 2 of them being upgraded with 3 Experience Chevrons, and 3 Thorax Swords. So here is the initial deployment here. I'm going to move forward. My opponent isn't really going to move at all. So here's the tactical overhead. That's me. I'm yellow on the minimap, or on the tactical overhead. My opponent's red. So here is my setup here. And as I said, my opponent is not going to move, really. So that's going to give me time to do something that I don't normally get to do, and that is to talk about each of the individual units, or at least show them up close. So my opponent's going to move just a little bit, but he's really not going to come to me. I have to come to him. And he does have some obstacles in front of his army, which I'll show you later, so that's going to make this march even longer. But here's my Royal Peltas unit. You can see they're very expensive, and this is probably one of my favorite sword units in the game. And I like putting my general on this one if I don't put him on a companion cav. And this is my absolute favorite unit in the game. This is my Aspis Companion Cav. Very expensive, and I only brought 3 of them in this battle. And I like them so much that I dressed up as one in a recent video. And here's my favorite skirmisher in the game, the Mercenary Cretan Archer. I have 3 of these, and that's the max amount you can have in a single army here. They're capped at 3. And those are my slingers. They're the ones not wearing armor. Very low cost. Look at 270. But they have very low morale, but they do have a lot of ammo that they carry. And I spent my extra money on them. And these are my pikemen. Pretty low cost too. I have 5 of those guys. Great from the front, if they confront the enemy from the front, but if the enemy outflanks you, then they crumple really fast. They got really below average morale, so you get what you pay for. And here are my Thorax Swords, and I'm using these guys to protect my pikemen, because usually people can just outflank your phalanx units, but with having swords here, it's going to help. So as I said, my opponent does have obstacles in front of his army. That's why I'm shifting gears to the right here, you see. So it made my march really long. And by the way, this is all being, I'm not really cutting scenes out of the video. It's all real time, but those are the obstacles. So I am moving the camera around, but you're not missing out anything on the time. So here's my opponent's army. He has a Citizen Cav. He has 2 of these guys. Pretty low cost, and pretty below average morale. He might be moving these units, but he's not really moving anything else, really. And here are my opponent's Royal Peltas. He has 4 of these guys. I was kind of worried by that, because if he did get behind my phalanx with these guys, I'd be history. And here's my opponent's Side Chariots. Look at those high stats on his armor and health on these Side Chariots. That's why they're pretty, I don't know, they're pretty abusive, to be honest, in my opinion. And it's shared by a lot of other players too. But my opponent also brought 2 Mercenary Cretan Archers, so he only has 2, I have 3 of these guys. And he has these Egyptian Infantry. He has 3 of them, 2 of them are highly upgraded with 3 Experience Chevrons, but these are very low cost units here. And he just spent his extra money on these guys. And then finally he has his Thorax Swords, and he has 3 of these guys. So in terms of swords, my opponent has more. And here's my opponent's formation. He deployed right next to the red line right there, as you can see. And I'm just gonna move towards my opponent's his left, which is my right. I want to avoid those obstacles right there. I wasn't really sure what they did, but better to be safe than sorry, typically. So I'm just gonna move my troops, keep them in formation for now. I am running them right now, but I was careful not to run them the entire way, because I didn't want them to be exhausted by the time I finally got to my opponent's army, which has been sitting pretty at the very back of the map. I wasn't too happy about that aspect. But whatever. So I left my Mercenary Cretan Archers in the front ranks there. I was pretty happy that I had more archers than he did, and I even have these slingers too. So in terms of missiles, like skirmishers, I do outrank my opponent in that regard, in that department. See, as I said, my opponent doesn't really move his army; he just shifts them around, but he's not really moving his army in general. It's just reshuffling so that I'll be meeting his front. So he didn't really do much in terms of tactical maneuvering. Very defensive mindset. So I am going to start the attack by moving up my Cretans. I'll let them lead the way. That's usually the case in my battles. Cretans lead the way. And for being a skirmish unit, they had tons of armor. See, they have a shield, helmet, all that good stuff. But they're pretty high cost for a missile unit, which is okay with me, because I'm not gonna buy crap loads of them. In fact, you know, they get capped at 3, so whatevs. So these guys are gonna lead the way, and my aim here was to take out his Cretans, because he only has 2 and I have 3, so I figure that's a pretty safe thing to do. So we start to exchange fire here. This particular unit isn't firing yet. The one that I'm zoomed in on, but they eventually exchange fire. So this is the skirmish phase. But if you look at my opponent's army, he has that unit of side chariots moving forward slowly, and I was keeping an eye on that. At the same time, I was moving my Aspis. I had aspirations of charging into his citizen cav there near the border, but I changed my mind. But here come his side chariots, and I saw them coming, so I did anticipate. I moved up my pikemen and brought back my archers. You can see he ran his own troops over there. I don't think he killed any of them. So I got my guys into phalanx. Unfortunately, he doesn't have to go right in the front. He can just stop moving and just go around. And this is where the damage will happen on my army. See, I will state for the record, I do think they're pretty abusive. I think their armor and health is way too high. I think before it was lower, and then people complained that chariots weren't very viable, but, you know, historically they weren't very viable. They were they're pretty outdated, even in the time of Alexander the Great. And I'm talking about the side chariots here. Caesar confronted a different type of chariot. They weren't... The type of chariots Caesar faced weren't made for running people over like this. But it was easy to pluck out the driver. And yeah, they were just pretty useless, to be honest. In my opinion, they weren't as effective as they are in this current patch of the game. But I managed to take them out eventually, after they killed 200 of my guys, over 200 of my guys. And that was an isolated attack by themselves. Can you imagine how they would have done if they were integrated better than that? So yeah, just for the record, I do want to say they're pretty abusive with their current stats right now. So, brought up my phalanx, and my archers aren't in very good positioning, and they're... You know, I started them off really spread out, but now they're kind of compact again. That's because of the damage done by his chariots. So I had to go into this second phase of the skirmish part in that really crappy formation that my Cretans are in. So I wasn't too happy about that. But you gotta roll with the punches sometimes, guys. I wasn't about to pull out and spread my archers again. But anyhow, I wanted to bring up my phalanx now. And I wanted to basically just confront his Egyptian infantry. I knew my guys could tear up his Egyptian infantry. So I got my guys into phalanx. And still using the Cretans to support the advance here. And just, you know, kind of nullify his Cretans. But you can see that they're not spread out anymore. Anyways, these Egyptian infantry, they also carry little missiles of their own. And I'm not sure if that was exclusive for Emperor Edition, but a lot of these infantry units now carry javelins with the Emperor Edition. And that's going to do some considerable damage to my phalanx. And even his back ranks of Royal Peltas are shooting at my phalanx units, so I am losing tons of guys right now. And one of my guys starting to waver. See that unit blinking? And so I brought up my Aspis companions to run down his Egyptian infantry. See that? And I used the other two to stop his citizen cav. But the important thing here was to take out his front line of Egyptian infantry. And taking out that first unit of Egyptian infantry has opened him up for hammer and anvil. It's a very it's not the best looking hammer and anvil, but it's, you know, it works. So this is my Aspis just running down his Egyptian infantry, just clearing out that front line of Egyptians. So pretty much mission accomplished. Right here, that's his last line of Egyptian units right there, of Egyptian infantry. He still has his Royal Peltas and swordsmen in the back. But I think I took a lot of damage there. And while that was going on, my opponent did manage to charge into my slingers with his citizen cav. He took out quite a bit of my slingers. I wasn't too happy about that either, because I needed my slingers to cause damage to his sword units, especially his Royal Peltas. My slingers do come back though. I'm able to rally them back, but I did manage to take out that front rank of Egyptian infantry. So there's one unit of Aspis on the left, and I had two of my other Aspis on the other side. So just jerking my that sounds gross. Just feigning movement with my Aspis on the left. But I'm gonna roll behind his line. See this? Those are my Aspis that are going around his army, and I just want to put him behind his troops so I can threaten hammer and anvil. Because I don't have enough troops, I don't have enough infantry to just fight his infantry in a stand-up fight. I definitely need my cav to support. And in response to that, he is going to put some of his units in the back. So it's going to be kind of like a pikeless noob circle. But it's important to stress that it's pikeless. There's no spears or sarissas in this all-around defensive perimeter. The important thing is he's going to keep his infantry from getting hammer and anvil for the moment. But I did manage to get my Aspis behind his guys, and that was another important thing right there too. Just getting them behind his dudes is important because it's going to leave him on edge, and it's going to definitely give me the initiative because now he has to be on the defensive for sure. And I wanted to take out his citizen cav just to get rid of that element. So I charged in with a unit of Aspis. And those are my slingers, who I put on the outside. See, they did manage to rally back. I'm pretty sure I used my rally feature on them too, and that helped. But the goal here was to expend the remaining ammunition that my skirmishers have on the backs and flanks of his Royal Peltas and and his thorax swords. But yeah, just fighting that infantry at 100% is going to be really tough for my much depleted phalanx. And I don't have many sword units, to be honest. I only have my Royal Peltas and 2 thorax swords, so 3 healthy sword units altogether on my side. So this was another charge on a citizen cav, and here I kind of blundered here. It wasn't this part that I blundered. I blundered in the fact that my slingers, as you saw earlier, they are unsupported. So his citizen cav are making a beeline for my slingers. I saw it happening, so I quickly refocused their aim at his citizen cav, trying to protect themselves by shooting at the enemy's cav. Unfortunately, he got a good enough charge that it's going to take out my slingers once and for all, I believe. And I think that was a very worthy kamikaze mission for his citizen cav. I didn't like it because my slingers still had ammo, which could have worked on his sword units. So anyways, that's his noob circle right there, and he did peel off one unit at my phalanx. I put my guys in phalanx mode, so he stops what he was doing and goes right back. I was hoping he would have just charged all of his guys into my services, but he did not. He just pulled right back. So we're gonna see this first-hand damage here of what his javelins do from his infantry foot units here. Watch this. It's pretty grotesque. Hey Prince, you should use the Blood and Gore DLC. So yeah, now I'm using my cav to charge in at his infantry, just to break up his infantry, and also to maybe, hopefully, prevent his guys from shooting any more javelins at my infantry. Because without my infantry, my cav is going to be pretty useless. So I made a tactical decision there by sacrificing some horses. And I do have my own javelins too, which I definitely used up before charging in. So you can see him activating the shield wall. And look at my javelins, getting some revenge for what his guys did to my phalanx units. So at this point, it's gonna be pretty close combat at this point now. So yeah, I definitely wanted to keep these faction banners on so you can kind of see what's happening, because we're sharing a lot of the same units. Like, we're both using Royal Peltis, we're both using Thorax swords. Granted, he has a lot more than I do. But anyhow, finally getting to use my Aspis for something more decisive here. By keeping up the pressure, I was able to create you know, rear charge opportunities for my guys. He eventually had to fold in and support his other frontline units of swords, which meant from the back that opened him up for rear charges. And that was the moment that my Aspis was waiting for at this stage of the battle. So I had to keep it up, and also using Aspis to support my weakened infantry units too. A lot of my phalanx units are pretty depleted. They're getting overpowered, so I had to use my swords, or my Aspis, to support them too. But luckily, I am slowly but surely causing his guys to break, using constant pressure and especially the rear charges and outflanking charges with my Aspis companions. So this is pretty much going to be the end of his war effort here. He still has his general, but not for too much longer. And again, he's activating shield wall there on his general unit at that time. And if you look at his guys were pretty fatigued as they tried to race across, but they finally all broke. So yeah, look at his chariot. They killed 249, and that was a solo attack. And one of my Aspis got 271 kills though. But anyways, good game to my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed this this battle.